MIAA Monday back this week. Last week didn't have one because we had MIAA Basketball Media Day. MIAA Commissioner Mike Racy with me again. Sir, welcome back on.
Thank you, Chris. Good to see you. And it was a great week to kick off or tip off our MIAA basketball season. Still recovering a little bit, but yes, thanks for being with us at that event. It was a great day for the MIAA.
It really kind of felt like the tip-off, like you said, to the college basketball season. And we know the MIAA, just like it is in football and volleyball, soccer, all the fall sports, you go down the list. Basketball, the MIAA kind of sets itself up as one of the best Division II conferences out there. A lot because of what Northwest Missouri State's done the last several years, but also you look at Washburn on the men's side, you look at the women's side, Central Missouri, Nebraska Kearney, Fort Hays State, Emporia State, the list goes on. Just how much excitement do you have just about what this season could be, coming off a year that we really didn't know what we were going to get last year, but now things look like it's going to be, full steam ahead?
Well, as we talked about in Media Day, we found a way last year to get all the games in and plow through the season, and we had a lot of our coaches talk about that. How challenging last year was, and I think a lot of our coaches, a lot of our student athletes, discovered a new love for basketball, and you can't take anything for granted. And, every game, every practice is a blessing now that we get to spend together. So, when we had Media Day this week, it felt like a celebration of MIAA basketball. A chance to get together in person. I'm so glad our conference does that. A lot of Division II, a lot of Division I conferences are doing Media Day, if they have it at all, by a virtual Zoom connection. It was so good to have everybody in the same room and really just to celebrate MIAA basketball. It was a great venue. The College Basketball Experience, the College Basketball Hall of Fame in downtown Kansas City, just a couple of blocks from where we staged the MIAA basketball tournament at Municipal Auditorium. It's the right place for us to tip off the NCAA Division II basketball season, to celebrate MIAA basketball, and really to hopefully look forward to another successful year in both men's basketball and women's basketball for this great conference.
You talk about not a lot of conferences, even at Division I for that matter, doing media days in person like this. To me, it doesn't matter what sport it is. If you have that big game feel to it, it's going to be a big game feel atmosphere. Having media day like that just makes the MIAA even bigger than what it is. Just how important is that for you guys to kind of hoist up even more what the MIAA is, because basketball is a big deal in the MIAA, but just adding that extra level of college basketball experience, media day in person, just what does that do for the conference as a whole?
I think it's a big deal. We look for opportunities to find a big platform, especially in Kansas City, to tell our story. And we have over 100,000 alumni in the Kansas City area from MIAA schools. Kansas City's a great MIAA town. The MIAA is the only NCAA conference in Kansas City. So when we have our basketball tournament, or when we do football media day, or when we do basketball media day, or having the MIAA office at Hy-Vee Arena, those are all great platforms for us to connect and reach people that may not know a lot about what we do and where our schools are and how successful they are. So, it's a big opportunity. That's why we do it. We also do it because, basketball means a lot, to the MIAA. I think 6 or 7 national championships on the men's and women's side, going back 15 years. Northwest Missouri State's captured 3 of the last 4 men's championships. Central Missouri won the women's championship in 2018, was a 3-point shot away from another trip to the national championship game in women's basketball. So we need to let people in Kansas City know about these great programs, about these great coaches, about these great student athletes. And Chris, you were with us, on Media Day on Tuesday, and we do it right. We bring the student athletes with the coaches. We want our student athletes there, and we had probably close to 40 student athletes in attendance. A lot of interactive games, a lot of social media activity, a lot of interviews, a lot of just celebrating our student athletes. And we always have to remember that that these are college student athletes. Graduation and getting a degree is why we're there. But in the MIAA, these are some of the most talented student athletes athletically in the Midwest. And it was great to see them all together at Media Day and a chance to really be part of it.
I know as we look ahead in college basketball, on the men's side of things, we have the Small College Basketball Hall of Fame Classic coming up in just about 3 weeks or so here in St. Joseph at Civic Arena. But also a lot of non-conference stuff you have too is Division II playing Division I, MIAA schools playing Division I schools. In the past, we've seen Northwest play Duke in that game that went down to the wire a little bit, 6-point game. I know Missouri Western's played Arkansas and schools like that before. Why is that such a big thing maybe for the MIAA to get those Division I non-con games in at the beginning of the year that kind of gives the Division I teams kind of ready to go, but at the same time, we've seen Division II MIAA schools knock out the Division I programs. Fort Hays State did it, I think it was 2 years ago. I think Kansas State.
Just last year.
Yeah, Kansas State.
Yeah, they beat K-State in an exhibition, and our schools are thrilled to have that opportunity. I think, in MIAA, we're in 4 different states: Oklahoma, Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri. I think most of our state Division I programs are pretty good about, giving the Division II programs an opportunity to come and play. I know in Kansas, the University of Kansas and Kansas State are in a rotation with our MIAA Kansas schools to get a chance to come and play. And it goes back to really what we talked about related to Media Day and why we do it in person. This is a great platform early in the season for our Division II programs to really show, the country what they have. Fort Hays State, beating a team picked pretty high last year in the Big 12, beating Kansas State and, having a chance to, to make ESPN and to, Fort Hays beats Kansas State and then finishes 6th or 7th in the MIAA men's basketball final standings. So it's not only a great statement for the institutions that get to play, but just a great reflection on the strength of the MIAA conference. So there will be a lot of those as we lead into the start of the MIAA basketball season around Thanksgiving. A lot of early November, mid-November Division II, Division I matchups, and hopefully on the men's side or the women's side, the MIAA might get another 1 or 2 upsets and give us something to brag about.
In that same breath, you have those non-conference tournaments, kind of like I mentioned, the small college basketball one. There's also one down at Municipal too, coming up before the season. How big are those for the MIAA to establish themselves early? I know they're early season games, so there's not a lot you can take deep into the season. Coaches will tell you that, but you have the small college basketball. You have Northwest, Northern State from up there from a rematch of the regionals. You have Missouri Western in that one too. A lot of good teams. Is this another chance for the MIAA to kind of say, hey, we're one of the best in the country, if not the best in the country too?
Yeah, we talked before on this program, Chris, about the model that Division II uses to select teams for postseason, and that's how well you do in regional play. Obviously, your conference and how well you do in the conference is is most important, but those opportunities early in the season to play teams outside of your conference but in your region goes a long way in determining, the strength of a conference, and maybe a conference that's more deserving of having more at-large berths in the men's or women's postseason tournaments. So the opportunity at the small college basketball tip-off in St. Joe for a Missouri Western or a Northwest Missouri State to play in that, and to go against some teams in the region or other teams that are coming to St. Joe that are nationally ranked. And then in the Central Region Challenge that will be at Municipal the middle of November, you'll have teams from the Northern Sun, the MIAA, and the Great American Conference. Pittsburgh State University is hosting that tournament. It'll be all men's basketball. I think there are 6 games on Friday and Saturday, and then a 4-game menu on Sunday. So, a basketball junkie could come and see some great basketball and really, 3 full days of great Division II action. And again, these, it's early in the season. Teams want to be playing their best in March, but these early season games are very important when it comes time for the NCAA to make decisions about who's going to be playing in the NCAA tournament.
And you brought up both those tournaments. It's back-to-back weekends, the small college basketball at Civic Arena here in St. Joe, and then that next Friday you go right into that Central Region Challenge at Municipal. Right. So a lot of good basketball, and we're, 3 weeks away from the start of it all, but we've still got a lot of fall sports going on, and you guys are pretty busy down there with the fall SAC event that you guys are having. To just take me through the process of what that is, what that entails, and why it's such an important part of what you guys do.
Yeah, so the SAC, or the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, is something that exists in all 3 divisions in the NCAA. And the great thing about the Student Athlete Voice is that they are organized into these advisory committees on campus, in the conference, and then also nationally. The NCAA for Division I, II, and III has a national SAC, or Student Athlete Advisory Committee. And what we do in the MIAA, a couple of times a year, we get our student athlete leaders, a couple of student athletes from each campus, to come to Kansas City, to spend time together, and really to focus on conference issues and national issues. So this weekend we're hosting our fall conference Student Athlete Advisory Committee Summit. It'll be here at Hy-Vee Arena, where our conference office is. The weekend, Friday and Saturday, will be filled with student athlete activities and meetings and special guests and important discussions. We'll have our National Student Athlete Advisory Committee representative from Missouri Western will be with us. And our student athletes, the main 2 topics, Chris, that we've really identified, and we'll have some outstanding guests to help facilitate these discussions. One will be on name, image, and likeness, and we'll spend some time with our student athletes talking about NIL opportunities, as well as, once you have that opportunity, how to take care of your money. What to do with that money, how to prepare for taxes and all of the things that come with that type of a supplemental income while you're going to school. So we're going to spend some time on that. And then we're also going to spend some time on Saturday morning talking about mental health and how critical it is for student athletes. Some of the most conditioned and in shape and physically fit individuals on our campuses. We also need, like everyone in society, we need to be mindful of mental health and everything from what you eat and how much sleep you get, and and also resources and places you can go when you're facing anxiety or things are bothering you, or you're dealing with issues that are really hard to cope with. And a lot of times our student athletes are the ones that either don't find time or feel maybe a little isolated or difficult asking for that type of help. So we're gonna spend some time with these student leaders, talk to them about that, talk to them about resources, and give them some tools that they can go back to campus and share with other student athletes on each of our campuses.
You bring up the mental health awareness part of it, and I even before the pandemic hit, you started seeing schools and universities and conferences and just all the way up to professional sports talking more about mental health. But during the pandemic, it's been even more, I think, just kind of highlighted in that Wisconsin study that was done with a lot of high school age kids too. But how important is that for you guys to make sure student athletes know that it's okay to talk about these things? For so long, it was kind of maybe taboo to talk about, like, hey, anxiety's bothering me, or this has got me. But just how important is it for the conference to kind of tell the student athletes, hey, it's okay to have things going on, but here's how we can help, or here's things that can help you get through whatever you're going through?
I think it's one of the most critical and important things that we're doing right now. And I'm happy that the trend in athletics, really at all levels, you mentioned pro and high school and especially in college, the trend the last couple of years is to really put an emphasis on this, Chris. And we do that in the MIAA, and every opportunity we have with student athletes, we look for chances to talk about these things, to bring them out, to put some light on it, to make them understand that it is okay. And these conversations lead to some really interesting things about, challenges that our student athletes face on campus. For example, every one of our schools, Chris, have excellent counseling services and professionals on campus that are able to help students, to help faculty, to help administrators that are trying to cope with things. And one of the things that we've learned from working with students is that, the hours that those services are usually available, 8 to 5 o'clock on a Monday through Friday, that's not always the ideal schedule for student athletes that are busy with class, team meetings, practices. So, through these conversations with our student athletes, we've taken these ideas back to campus that, these resources, these services, they need to be open at night, or they need to have opportunities that student athletes can reach somebody on a weekend or after hours. And those changes have taken place. So these discussions are important for student athletes to feel comfortable that they can talk about their mental health and seek help when they need it, but also to make change on campus for student athletes to talk about hindrances to getting these services. And those conversations help us, open doors and provide the things that student athletes need to access those resources.
It kind of feels like, everybody kind of gets caught up in the wins and losses sometimes. We don't think about the stress levels that it takes on student athletes and coaches alike too, just kind of looking at that, because coaches go through the same things too. Just how important is it for coaches to kind of also be able to talk with student athletes or make them comfortable saying, okay, here we can get you to counseling or whatever you need to do too, because it's kind of that new era where everything's okay to talk about, where 15, 20 years ago, it probably wasn't the case as open as it is now.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely correct. And, and we feel it in our jobs, Chris. There's pressure that's on us externally, pressure we put on ourselves internally to perform and to do well. And for young people, student athletes, that can be magnified. They could be dealing with things that maybe they haven't had to deal with before, at least not on their own. They've had those support systems in high school or at home, teachers, coaches, parents they can rely on. now a lot of them freshman, sophomore, they're dealing with these things for the first time. Coaches, the same way, dealing with external pressure, internal pressure. Pressure can be very lonely. Anxiety can be very lonely. And so we certainly want in intercollegiate athletics to create an environment where it's okay and encouraged for student athletes, coaches, administrators to seek out people when they're feeling these things, to talk about it, to get this professional help, and all of that is very healthy, and all of that is what we should be encouraging each other to do as human beings that care about each other. And there's nothing more important in the MIAA. It's highlighted in our strategic plan. It's highlighted in everything we do, is the health and welfare of our student athletes, and their mental health is just as important as anything else that we're doing.
MIAA Commissioner Mike Racy with me here on MIAA Monday. Want to get you out of here on a more lighthearted topic, but also a very competitive topic that you guys are putting out there. A Madden challenge for MIAA students to have an opportunity. Everybody loves video games. Most people do. A Madden challenge you guys are having here at the end of the month. It looks like October 27th, October 28th, live on Twitch. I'm not on Twitch, but I know friends that are and everything. So I kind of have seen it. I'm starting to feel old saying that, but it seems like a really cool opportunity you guys are getting with this Madden challenge and getting, student athletes and just people involved with the MIAA too.
Yeah, and the key is, Chris, this is open to all students on campus. It doesn't have to be our student athletes, and it's really the first opportunity for the MIAA to dip its toe into the world of esports. Esports is a huge enterprise right now. Lots of corporate sponsors, lots of attention on platforms, media platforms like Twitch, and certainly some exploration by conferences and even the NCAA. If there's a future in sponsoring esports at the varsity level and having regional and national competitions. So we're not there yet as the NCAA is an organization, the MIAA is a conference, but we were approached by a third party and an opportunity to offer a fun sports game like Madden football to really launch and see what type of interest there is. So any student on campus can sign up, no cost, it's free. And by doing this, by sponsoring it as the MIAA, there's going to be a couple of the tournaments this fall, and we hope it gets into some student at Northwest having bragging rights over some student at Emporia State or vice versa. But the idea is obviously these students will fly their colors, will wear their school logos, hopefully very proudly, and compete for the MIAA 2021 Madden Tournament Championship, and we'll recognize those students. There'll be prizes. There'll be a lot of fun, and again, it's just something different we haven't tried before, and we're excited to be part of it. See how it goes.
You mentioned kind of the rise of esports. And Missouri Western, they've got a team. Northwest Missouri State's got a team up and running at this point. How does, I guess, the process go when you look at esports as a varsity level sport? Because even Central High School here in town has got one now up and rolling too, and there's, I think, several in the area. I know I'm forgetting somebody through there, but what does that process look like? Because there is so much corporate sponsorship in there. You have kids winning tons of money on their own in esports. Is there a lot of levels to this if it wants to get to that varsity level for college athletics, so to speak?
Yeah, it'll take some steps, and but in some places, Chris, there are colleges and universities that are building esport arenas and investing a lot of money into esport facilities and giving out scholarships. In the MIAA and most schools in the Midwest, the esports program is housed under campus recreation or student affairs, and it's not part of the varsity athletics department.
Right.
And to get to that level, I think there are a couple of things that really cause the NCAA concerns as they study this. One, Chris, is just the violent nature of some of these games. So, there are a lot of esport games and championships that get featured on these media platforms, and it's a lot of gun violence, a lot of stuff that is probably not healthy as part of an NCAA varsity sport. The other thing the NCAA, I think, is concerned about is that when you look at a lot of the campuses that have some sort of an esport recreation program, it seems to be very male heavy, male dominated. So, to bring that in, to a varsity level sport, there's going to have to be some work in outreach in getting more females interested in these games and activities and being part of that. But you're right. The high schools are starting to offer it. Certainly, there's a lot of interest in young kids and teenagers. This is what they enjoy doing. A lot of kids and young people, they would, they'd rather be doing this than throwing a ball around or running or whatever. And it's just probably some things that are changing in society that we have to study and look at. But you're absolutely right. There are a number of steps, I think, before we see this advance to kind of a varsity sports status and an NCAA championship.
Well, a good way to kind of kick things off for the MIAA is the Madden Invitational. End of the month, October 27th, October 28th. All you have to do is have Madden, an Xbox One, a valid MIAA student email address, and go to MIAA.com/Madden and sign up for it. And it says grand prizes and bragging rights. Will one of the grand prizes be playing against you? Is that one of the championship opportunities?
We hadn't thought through that, Chris, but maybe you and I will have to team up as offensive and defensive coordinator and go against the tournament champ to figure out who the grand champion of the MIAA is. So
you're not going to want me to be the defensive coordinator.
Okay.
I'm all offense, and we'll see if we can outscore people. That's how I'm going to go.
We'll win 72-60.
There you go. That's all we need to do.
That'll be the plan.
MIAA Commissioner Mike Racy, thank you as always. A lot to look forward here to in the next few weeks. Can't wait to talk to you again next week.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.